Hey, welcome back. How is your vision and mission coming along? Have you had any breakthroughs yet? I hope that at the very least, having considered your values and beliefs and spent time working out a vision and mission for your team or club has been a valuable awareness raising exercise for you. Now that we know what the final product looks like and that we have described in broad strokes what our club is about, it is time to get our hands dirty and start putting in place a strategy that really becomes the roadmap for our coaching success. It is time to identify the key steps and actions that are going to help make the most of our setting and are going to get us closer to realizing the vision and the mission. Please note that when we talk about strategy, in this section we are not really referring to the tactics used to win games, races or fights. What we are going to discuss is more about the all-encompassing strategy required to maximize the chances of success for your program. And success here is defined by the objectives and goals stated in your vision and mission. Having said this, the process of arriving at a tactical strategy for an actual sporting contest is actually very similar to how we generate the wider strategy. Okay, so let's watch these two videos.
Strategy is a word that gets mentioned a lot in business. But what is strategy? And what does it have to do with the work you do every day? There isn't really a definitive answer to what strategy is because everyone has their own opinion. However, one good way to look at it is to ask, what do we need to do to win in our market? This is the key question that you need to answer when you develop a strategy. This question also demonstrates that developing a strategy doesn't involve analyzing just one thing. Rather, it involves understanding your world in detail, then mapping out your best possible route to success. It can take a lot of thought and analysis to do this properly. Strategy development needs to happen on 3 levels. The first level is corporate strategy. For organizations with many different business units, this determines how the organization as a whole supports and enhances the value of the business units within it. The next level is business unit strategy. This describes how individual business units compete and win in their own individual markets. The objectives in the business unit strategy must be in line with the objectives of the corporate strategy. The last level of strategy is team strategy. Each team within a business unit has its own contribution to make, which means that it needs its own strategy to accomplish the larger goals and objectives of the organization. No matter what your role, your work contributes to your team strategy, which contributes to the business unit strategy, which then contributes to the larger corporate strategy. Each level is necessary and important to the success of your organization. Now, read the article that accompanies this video to learn more about how you can develop a strategy for your team, business unit, or organization.
Your style. Some of you are intuitive coaches. You like to shoot from the hip. You like to show up on the deck and just run workout. And some of you are really good at that. This presentation is going to drive you nuts. Okay? And some of you are very organized. You like being organized. If you're like me, you're borderline OCD. And you're going to love this presentation, I hope. And for everybody, what I'm really trying to do is ask you to be accountable and responsible. And there are huge benefits to that. One, you're going to get better results. You're going to be able to track what you've been doing so that if you had a great year, you know what to do again. But if you had a bad year, you know what not to do. I think it leads to greater stability. Because when life is good on the age group team, generally life is going to be good everywhere. You get greater support, and I think personally it's more fun. There's another reason I didn't list there, which is when I'm on the deck coaching age group kids, I feel tremendous responsibility to those moms and dads who are paying money for the kids to be there. And I feel like I'm there to do the best possible service I can for them, and unless I'm planning workouts, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, how did that go? What keywords or ideas did you pick up? Here is what we think is very important to understand about strategy. Strategizing can be defined as the process of plotting the course of action that leads to the greatest chance of success. Now, as such, it doesn't have to be super complex. It really depends on things like the size of your club, or your team, or the range of objectives you have. How many people have you an impact on, or what do you want as a coach? In simple terms, it is just about making clear the steps required to fulfill the vision and achieve the mission. In short, it is about what we want, the goals, what has to happen, the actions, in which order, the priorities, who has to do it, the responsibility, and what resources they need to get it done. I know, it sounds easy like that, doesn't it? Well, there are a few ways to facilitate this process. First, we can talk about a strategic goal setting. One way to go about developing a strategy is to work back from the ultimate goal, which should be somewhere in the vision and mission statements, and come up with some kind of tangible goals which provide the clarity required to start developing a fully fledged strategy. These goals, where possible, should be formulated in a smart way that is specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-based. Going back to the Neptunes, if their mission is to provide a broad range of swimming opportunities for children and families, you could argue that some tangible goals may be along the lines of: in 2 years from now, we want to offer 1 session a week for every identified participant group. So for example, for beginners, for adolescent and adult recreational, etc. The club community officer will be responsible for making this happen. That is clear, isn't it? Another one could be, in 2 years from now, we want to have a performance program covering from under 12s to under 18s with 100 swimmers in it, and the performance director will be responsible for this area. You can imagine that in developing your strategy and the strategic plan, for each of these major goals, you could then create multiple sub-goals. Sometimes these are called process goals or strategic priorities, and they help realize the main goals. For instance, if we take the first goal of offering at least 1 session a week for all identified participant groups, we could imagine some of the key elements that need to be put in place to achieve them, couldn't we? For example, we're going to have to create a full program of sessions that caters for a broad range of ages and needs. And then we're going to have to guarantee the pool times. Then we're going to have to ensure that there are enough coaches to staff all these new sessions. And we're going to have to create marketing materials and communication channels to advertise these sessions. Again, you can see that the key is to keep working backwards from the ultimate goal and to keep breaking it down into smaller pieces until you get to the level of the actions. For instance, to guarantee pool times, the community officer will have to talk to the pool manager and agree what time slots the club can access, right? Okay, that is a lot to take in. So let's take some time to reflect on what we have covered. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.